Looking to take your financial knowledge to the next level? You're in the right place. Welcome to Ask Ralph, offering accounting, technical, and financial advice. Whether you're looking to save taxes or improve your business, he's got you covered. Here's your host of Ask Ralph, Ralph Eastup Jr.
Hello and welcome back to the Ask Ralph Show. We are right in the middle of this credit series where we've talked about, what are the components of credit. That was our first session. We talked about the 5 C's of credit. And in our second session, we talked about, how to get started. What does it mean to qualify for credit? Now, over the next couple of sessions, I want to talk about how to build credit the right way. Because the truth is, this is an ultimate catch-22. You've got no credit card. You've got no credit history. You have no credit history, so you've got no credit card, what we call, circular reasoning. So this really does take some thought ahead of time. And if you do it right, it can really pay off for you in the long run. So let's talk about how to build credit the right way. In my view, the first thing to do potentially is to get help from a family member who has good credit. If you've got a willing parent or significant other who uses credit responsibly, they can help kickstart your credit score by either co-signing a loan for you or adding you as an authorized user on a credit card. Let's talk about what it means to be a co-signer. A co-signer is simply someone who agrees to be responsible for the loan if you stop paying your bills for any reason. In most cases, banks and lenders will approve a loan for somebody with no credit history if there is a creditworthy co-signer on the application. Now, in order for this to work, and this is tricky because this can get into sort of some family drama that you might not have been expecting, and this is a tough thing to ask, but you need somebody who trusts you enough, first of all, to put their credit rating on the line for you. That one's not so complicated. But the complicated portion is they got to have good credit themselves. So how do you say to your mom or your dad, hey mom, listen, I went down to the credit union. I'm a little biased towards credit unions. I think they're a good deal. And I want to get a credit card at the credit union. But what they said to me is I don't have any credit because I just started working. Hey, would you be willing to co-sign for me on my credit card? Well, the thing you need to find out, and most, the truth is, most people know if their parents have bad credit. Don't even ask if your parents have bad credit to be the co-signer. They're just not going to get you anywhere. But here's the thing, though. The other side of that is they've got to trust you enough to make sure that they're not putting themselves at risk also. Because the bottom line here is if you refuse to pay, the co-signer is legally responsible to pay. And like I mentioned before in my other series, when I was working with the credit union doing lending, I also had the unfortunate side of having to do collections as well. And, oftentimes we'd have a car loan, maybe it was a used car and, a young guy that just maybe got out of high school or got out of college, needed to get that first car. And, we were willing to give him the loan, but we said, listen, you've got no credit yourself, so we're going to need a co-signer here. So we get mom, dad. I always liked when grandmom co-signed, actually, because that was always a good one, and then let's say that, young Jim, quit making his car payments and I'd pull the file out, my collector and I would pull the file out and we'd take a look and say, okay, well, wow, we got a co-signer here. Well, who's this co-signer? Let's look at the relationship. Oh, it's grandmom. Oh, grandmoms are the best. Because once you call grandmom and tell her that her grandson or granddaughter's not paying the loan, you get paid pretty quickly. At least that was my experience. I remember one day I called somebody. We had a car loan that somebody hadn't paid for, I want to say 4 to 6 months. And we were really trying to find this person. And I was really getting frustrated. We made phone calls. We sent letters, all those things. Finally, I hopped in my vehicle and I rode out to, where the co-signer lived. And it was grandmom's house. And I mean, this was the true grandmom's house, the white picket fence, the porch around the whole house. I walk up to the front steps and I asked, and I'm not going to use names. I don't remember the lady's name anyway. And I said, listen, I'm from the credit union and, you co-signed for your granddaughter's loan and your granddaughter hadn't paid for a while. And, as soon as I said that, the grandmother says, you wait here. I'm going to go find her right now. And the grandmother came out and she had that cell phone. She was dialing that cell phone so fast, steam was coming off of the cell phone. And I think it was that afternoon we actually got paid on the loan. So you need to understand, if someone is going to co-sign for you, they're going to be responsible. So you need to make sure that you're going to honor your commitment. That's really important. Now, the other thing they can do is you can become an authorized user on someone else's account. And this is something you generally see in the credit card industry. You don't apply for the card together, but you can ask someone to add you as an authorized user. Now, the thing you need to be aware of here is ensure that you're being added to the account as a fully authorized user, because in some cases, companies will just issue extra cards in different names but only tie the account to one owner. The way you can check on this is, have they asked for your Social Security number when adding an authorized user? If not, this isn't going to work for you. So you could ask your mother, father, grandfather, aunt, uncle, and say, listen, I know you've got that cool credit card, with Bank of America. I really need to get my credit established. Would you consider, making me an authorized user on this credit card? You don't even have to use the credit card. And actually, sometimes that's even better. You could say to them, look, I don't even want to use it. I just want you to put my name on there as an authorized user, because then I'm going to get the benefit of your timely payments. Now, again, this goes back to make sure that the person you're going to go on as an authorized user with has good credit and they pay their bills on time. This isn't the time to go find your Uncle Don, who's a comic drunk, and he's got credit cards because he's got a wallet about 3 inches thick. But what you don't know is he never pays his credit card. So he'd be happy to add you an authorized user, but you're going to be on that downward spiral credit score through the basement trip with him. So you got to be careful what you're getting into there. Make sure if you're going to be an authorized user on someone's account that you understand what they're doing. And listen, if you have a falling out with this person, one of the things you want to make sure of is that you're removed as an authorized user. Because when you pull that credit report, it's going to report that you're an authorized user. And if you're an authorized user, that means they're going to ding you. It's probably not the greatest word to use, but they're going to use that against you on your credit report. Now, let's say that the idea of a cosigner or being an authorized user doesn't work. Then you need to get that starter credit card. We talked a little bit about that in our last session. That might be a store credit card. The reason I like these is they have lower credit limits, usually $300 to $500 to get started. Usually there's an annual fee. Well, guess what? There's an annual fee because they don't intend to make a lot of interest off you. But they do have higher interest rates. It's not something you want to carry a high balance on. These are the great credit cards to get that 20% discount if they're offering it. And then maybe you buy 1 or 2 things a month. You make sure you pay that bill in full. And generally there's no limits or there's no limited or there's no big rewards for these things. Sometimes there's secured credit cards, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the future, where the money in the bank equivalent to the credit line. So, for example, I remember when my son was first starting his credit, he had to put money into an account. I think it was $500, and they said, okay, you put $500 into the account. We're going to give you a credit line of $500. And if you make your payments timely, after 6 months, then we're going to reduce that. And you can put $250 and we're going to give you $500. And if you make another 6 months worth of payments, we're going to make it completely unsecured. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Now remember, it's not a debit card where every purchase you make is deducted from your balance. This is something that is really something you're going to be paying on a monthly basis. But the key to this is it's reporting and building your credit. So we're going to continue on how to build credit in our next session, so make sure you tune in.
You've been listening to Ask Ralph, brought to you by Saggio Accounting Plus. Please subscribe to and rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a rating and review. Our podcast is produced by Carolyn Peters. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Ask Ralph Media. You can also hear me each week on 1450 WILM and on 1410 WDOV in Delaware, and on the iHeartRadio app. Submit your questions or ideas for future shows by sending an email to AskRalph@AskRalph.com.
The information contained in this episode of Ask Ralph is based on data available as of the date of its release. Saggio Accounting Plus and Ask Ralph Media Inc. is under no obligation to update this content if changes occur. Applying this information to your specific situation requires careful consideration of all facts and circumstances, and any information provided is not to be considered as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney before acting on any material covered.